In Siberia, how did they keep warm?
There was no central heating. You survived or you died. You had two options.
So, could you please tell me your name?
My name is Rachel Kruger Gropper.
Where and when were you born?
I was born March 3rd, 1941, in a coal mine named Yegorshino in the northern Ural Mountains in Siberia. My parents were both Polish. Of course, there was always the issue of anti-Semitism. If either of them wanted to go to university, they couldn't because there were select quotas on Jews and whether they could or couldn't go. They had extended family, and I always imagined that it must have been noisy and fun, kind of what I fantasized a big rowdy family would be like. I never experienced it because they were all killed. They had heard some of the horror stories about Germany, and they decided that they would just grab whatever they could, and they ran to a town called Bialystok.
Why did they decide to flee east and not west?
They falsely believed that the Russians would accept refugees.
Who did they take with them?
They took my mother and my father, my uncle, and a niece of my mother's, and no one in her family survived. And she survived because she was with my parents.
What happened to the family members that were left behind?
Almost every one of the extended family were killed, either during the bombing or imprisoned. As they got to the Russian border, Russian soldiers captured them. They didn't execute them on the spot. They were put on open railway cars, and they didn't know where they were going, but they knew they were together. And they ended up in the coal mines of Siberia. They lived in barracks. Food was very scarce. People were starving. People were emaciated. Soldiers were constantly guarding them. From what I understood, the soldiers weren't monitored particularly, so if they wanted to be abusive, they could.
Do you know how many people were in each barrack?
40-ish. In between the initial year in the coal mine, my mother discovered she was pregnant. I still can't figure out why she would permit that to happen. What could you possibly consider having a baby in these circumstances? And her answer was always the same. She said it was our hope for survival, and if we didn't survive, the baby wouldn't.
Was your mother still working while she was pregnant?
There was no condition under which, when you're a slave, there's no exception. There's no mat leave. She worked until she went into labor. So she went into labor. There was no hospital. Through the workers, my dad heard that there was a hut where a woman helped other women, sort of like a midwife, and he somehow bartered away access to a sleigh in the snow, and he took my mother, and the soldiers were threatening to kill him, and they didn't shoot. Why? Fate. I don't know. And my mother went to this woman, and she delivered a baby that weighed 2 pounds, and the lady said, "Leave the baby here, I'll bury her, she'll never survive." So here I am telling you about it. My mother was one of the most fiercely determined people that I have ever met, and I've met a lot of people.